Sometimes it seems like the only time we have value is when we're fucking dead. What's good, y'all? Hoping you guys are well. Welcome back to the Onyx Report, Black Masculinist news for the day. Wanted to review something that it's been gnawing at me for years in a very subtle way, but it tends to rear its ugly head every now and again. Today it did the same. So before I delve into that, like, share, subscribe, join, and donate. Support the channel if you will. You know what it is. This is the only way you're going to actually see black male content, is if you actually support black males who produce content. So I hope you will do that. So anyway, today I came across an article by blackenterprise.com entitled "Report: Group Paid Widows of Tuskegee Experiment Paltry $100 to Study Dead Spouse's Blood." As I said, blackenterprise.com, June 11th. And you can see the image there of some of the brothers, elders, who passed. Get some of this stuff off my screen. Bear with me. Keep too much stuff on my desk. Shout out to them, all due respect. The picture is entitled "A Group in New York is Apologizing for Their Role in the Tuskegee Experiment, Paying Widows of Participants $100 for Autopsies." A foundation in New York has apologized for its role in the Tuskegee Experiment, which studied 600 black men, 399 of them with syphilis, in the 1930s. The men were told they were being studied for their bad blood and denied penicillin when it became available in 1943. The study was actually called Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male. According to the Associated Press, the Millbank Memorial Fund was part of a scheme to pay for the men's funeral expenses up to $100 if their widows agreed to an autopsy, allowing scientists to further study their dead husbands' bodies. The apology will accompany a donation to Voices of Our Fathers Legacy Foundation in Birmingham on June 11th. In 1973, a class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of the men in the Tuskegee Experiment and their families, which was settled out of court for $10 million. President Bill Clinton issued a formal presidential apology on May 16, 1997. Lily Tyson Head is the president of Voices of Our Fathers, and said her father, Freddie Lee Tyson, was one of the participants in the study. Head told the Associated Press that the apology was a wonderful gesture, despite it coming 25 years after the government's apology to the remaining survivors, who have all since passed away. Christopher F. Kohler, president of the Millbank Memorial Fund, said there's no justification for the payments. He also noted the deep mistrust many Black Americans still have for the government due to the horrific study, and that also goes to the medical and pharmaceutical industries as well. It was one more example of the ways that men in the study were deceived, noted Kohler, and we are dealing as individuals, as a region, as a country, with the impact of that deceit. And then it ends from there, right? So part of my frustration is obviously that, this type of medical experimentation and exploitation of black men has gone on since we, were forced to participate in this society. So that part of it isn't new. The Tuskegee Experiment frustrates me every single time I run across it. But when I ran across that article today, I could not help but relate it to, this ongoing rash of black men being killed by police or vigilante, but most particularly by police. And the reason that particular type of homicide bothers me is because often police in that situation will not even be fired. And even if they kind of technically are, they usually have no problem transitioning to another position somewhere else. It is what it is. They'll be relieved or put on suspension with pay, things of that nature. But beyond that, when the family goes to court, they might even be able to settle for a few million. And I remember, a few years ago when I ran across a couple of cases like that, my first impression was that, damn, You know, some of us seem to be worth more in death than we are in life. And I wondered if it contributed to this kind of culture I was noticing post Michael Brown, rise of BLM, where black males' deaths were monetized in a variety of ways. So yes, you have the monetization in terms of suing the state in regard to the arbitrary homicide of a black man, but then you also have the monetization of black male death on the grassroots activist level. And I couldn't help but wonder if it meant that in some respects, on some level, we were perceived as walking lottery checks. The only thing that had to happen, though, in order for that to be cashed in, is that you had to die. Now, I'm not arguing that you have families that are waiting around for it to happen, hoping it will happen. Although I don't have a problem with, believing that there are activist groups that have that issue. I think some of them can't wait to ambulance chase the death of a black man. But this shit frustrates me. And this is why. This is how the universe talks to me. So this is the second piece that just came on my desk about an hour ago. Their financial future, it's taken care of. Family of North Carolina man gunned down in his driveway by deputies settles lawsuit for $3 million. This is AtlantaBlackStar.com. If you're not familiar. It reads, the family of Andrew Brown Jr. has reached a $3 million settlement in a civil rights lawsuit filed in connection with his slaying at the hands of sheriff's deputies in northeastern North Carolina. Brown's family said he was unarmed when he was swarmed by deputies and hit with a barrage of bullets. They're still grieving and they're still dealing with the death of their loved one, said Chantel Cherry Lassiter, one of the attorneys representing the Brown family. See the picture there. On April 21st, 2021, Andrew Brown Jr. was behind the wheel of his car in the driveway of his Elizabeth City, North Carolina home. When I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. And for those in the area, forgive me, I don't know what that is. Pasquotank, I don't know. North Carolina. County sheriff's deputies pulled up in force to arrest him and execute a search warrant at the residence. Man, I hate all these advertisements every 5 seconds. Damn. Brown reacted by putting his car in reserve to get away as deputies who came running up with their guns drawn and yelling commands. Within seconds, the deputies began firing, and Brown was hit with a slew of bullets from deputies' guns as he crossed his lawn in his car, including once in the back of the head. Last July, Brown's family filed a civil rights lawsuit. Against the deputies, claiming the shooting was unjustified because Brown was unarmed and was trying to drive away from deputies in his BMW, not toward them. In other words, he panicked, which is a human thing to do. A bunch of people roll up on you on guns, you're off guard. You really don't know what you're going to do unless you've been trained or you've had a lot of those kind of situations. It usually takes that level of familiarity to be able to kind of determine how you would act in situations like that. But to the average person that doesn't have a lot of experience with violence, your first reaction is going to be to panic. It is what it is. So I just like to put that out there before I hear the unending slew of people that want to blame him for his own death. Anyway, claiming the shooting was unjustified because Brown. Okay, the district attorney who reviewed the case last year cleared the 7 deputies of wrongdoing. See what I said? Claiming Brown used his car as a deadly weapon, causing deputies to believe deadly force was necessary. But he didn't drive toward anybody. If you're going to raid somebody, you know goddamn well the potential of panic is there. But if he didn't threaten anybody, that shouldn't have even been on the table. Brown's family said when he was shot, he was sitting in his car with his hands on the steering wheel. As far as grief and just getting through what they've been dealing with the past year and some months, they're still having to deal with that, and they'll have to deal with that for some months to come, said Harry Daniels, one of the attorneys representing the Brown family. Attorneys Daniels and Cherry Lassiter say as part of the lawsuit settlement, the family agreed to dismiss all claims and potential liability against the defendants and individual deputies involved in Brown's shooting, common practice according to Daniels. You settle the matter when you dismiss or release all defendants in the matter. That's common language. Yeah. That's common language. The $3 million will go to Brown's heirs, his 7 children, who range in age from 8 to 25. I don't know what his last thoughts were going through his head. I'm sure it probably had something to do with his children. Oh my God, what about my children today? As far as their financial future, it's taken care of for years to come. Daniels said of the money going to Brown's children. Brown was killed by deputies the same day Derek Chauvin was found guilty in the murder of George Floyd. Daniels says the string of police brutality against African Americans continues to be a problem plaguing Black America, and only more criminal prosecutions against police will bring about change. It's a continuous cycle. It's a cycle that needs to be broken. A civil suit is a suit. A civil suit is not the remedy to prevent this. A criminal prosecution, prison is the remedy, Daniels said. Daniels also says that although the civil suit in Brown's case is resolved, the deputies involved must contend with a federal investigation stemming from the shooting. The FBI opened its probe April 21st. As to whether these officers will be charged with a crime, that's up to the Department of Justice, but as it relates to the civil matter, that is complete. Yeah, that's complete. So you have Black men dying in situations that they have no business dying, in response to things that they're innocent of, often. And yet, we're supposed to feel good that the kids have a few $1 million over their father and his actual ability to be present in their lives. And so when I take this in relation to the Tuskegee experiment, it really drives home the notion that Black men fundamentally are lottery tickets. Institutionally speaking, from the vantage point, even of the state, we are lottery tickets to be cashed in by others. And that's particularly impactful if you're poor, and most Black men are. It's just the numbers. It is what it is. We have 2% of the national wealth. Not surprising, nor is it an accident. Black men have been purposely underdeveloped for centuries. It's not an accident. You have individuals that are, pushing against the grain. They're able to do well, and that's great. I'm one of them. I don't get that twisted any day. And that's not because we have any particular hold on being special. A lot of it is just fucking luck. It is what it is. I've known far too many brilliant Black men that can humble you with one conversation. Brilliant. Just didn't have opportunities, had responsibilities that took priority, other things. And to know that their lives mean nothing to so many except a possible check, whether it's by law enforcement or the courts, who want to see this as a way to diffuse a situation and prevent officers from having to be taken to jail, or to prevent police departments or police institutions, law enforcement institutions to be held accountable, even down to individual people in the community that would talk about Black men as nothing more than a resource. At the end of the day, it is important that we always think about prioritizing the safety and well-being of our children long-term, fellas. It is also important that people understand the lost art of appreciating the Black father. The hostility, the contempt, the rage toward the Black father, his dismissal from the Black family. It's palpable. And you have far too many people that take joy in his absence. I want to show you one thing before I leave, just to give you a sense of why I'm saying what I'm saying. Because this is the kind of thing that I think people are oblivious of. This is an advertisement for an MSNBC show. Will also be on Peacock. Right. Sunday, June 19th. The culture is Black women. Yeah. So when I talk about the dismissal of men, the dismissal of fathers, the downplaying of their importance, all of that good stuff. If you don't understand what this means, all I'll leave you with is Happy Father's Day.